You let your fire die. Your dreams didn't die because life got hard. They died because you stopped fighting for them. You used to wake up hungry, restless, dangerous. Now you wake up tired and call it maturity. Let's be real. Somewhere along the line, you made a deal with comfort. You traded your fire for predictability, your risk for stability. You convinced yourself that growing up meant slowing down. It didn't. It meant settling. You used to want more. You used to feel more. Now, you just want peace, the kind of peace that comes from not trying anymore. That's not peace. That's surrender. And if you're honest with yourself, you can feel it, that quiet grief in your chest when you see someone else still chasing. It's not jealousy. It's remembrance. You recognize something in them you buried years ago, the version of you that still believed you could become something extraordinary. You think you grew up. You just gave up. Society applauded you for it. You're being realistic. They said, you're doing the right thing. No. You were doing the safe thing. You got good at playing small, following rules, keeping peace, doing what's expected. And every time you ignored that voice in your head that said this isn't it, another piece of you went numb. Now look at your life. Be brutally honest. You've built a life that looks fine on paper, decent job, stable routine, maybe a relationship, maybe not, but something's missing, isn't it? You're busy, but not fulfilled, tired, but not accomplished, surrounded, but still lonely. You think you're broken. You're not. You're just unexpressed. Your soul is suffocating under the weight of your own compromise. First, the death of desire. You stopped allowing yourself to want things deeply because wanting hurts. Wanting exposes you. It reminds you how far away you are from what you crave. So you numbed yourself with logic, told yourself dreams are childish, passion fades, stability matters more. You even started mocking the dreamers. Must be nice to have that luxury. But deep down, you envy them. Because they're alive. Here's the shocking truth. Most people don't fail to achieve their dreams, they forfeit them. Not because they can't, but because they refuse to feel the discomfort of trying again. You tell yourself you're waiting for the right time, but time isn't the issue. Courage is. The brain's betrayal. Let's get psychological for a second. Your brain is a master manipulator. It doesn't care about your potential, it cares about your survival. It rewards routine, not growth, comfort, not courage. Every time you choose safety over risk, it gives you a hit of relief, dopamine, false peace. That's how the addiction begins. You start craving certainty like a drug. You stop chasing possibility because possibility feels unstable. So you cling to the known even if the known is killing your spirit. This is why passion fades. Not because it's gone, but because you've trained your brain to fear aliveness. Excitement, risk, uncertainty, they all feel dangerous to a mind addicted to control, and the more control you chase, the smaller your life becomes. Pad the mirror test. Let's play a game. Look in the mirror tonight. Really look. Can you meet your own eyes without flinching, or do you see someone who settled, someone who traded what if for at least I have a job, at least I'm not alone, at least I'm stable. At least is the language of the half-dead. It's how the world convinces you to stay average by rewarding you for giving up early. You're not supposed to just exist. You're supposed to burn. And the fact that you don't feel that fire anymore, that's not aging, that's neglect. You stopped feeding your soul, and now you're surprised it's starving. The harshest truth. Your life right now, the boredom, the anxiety, the apathy isn't punishment. It's feedback. It's your psyche's way of saying, you're off path. That restlessness you feel isn't something to medicate. It's a compass. It's your inner fire trying to wake you up before it's too late. You don't need a new morning routine. You don't need to manifest better days. You need to stop lying to yourself. Stop pretending you're happy with fine. Stop calling your fear logic. Stop confusing numbness for peace. Because if you keep doing that, if you keep choosing comfort over calling one day, you'll wake up and realize you've run out of time to start over. The first crack in the cage. Here's what you've forgotten. Passion isn't a personality trait. It's a muscle. And like any muscle, if you stop using it, it weakens. The good news, you can rebuild it, not through planning, not through reading about purpose, but through repetition of courage, tiny, defiant acts that remind your brain, I'm still alive. Speak your truth instead of swallowing it. Say no to something that drains you. Say yes to something that scares you. Every time you do that, you spark something ancient inside the part of you that remembers who you were before you started shrinking to fit. The emotional cost of playing small. Let's talk about the price of your silence. When you abandon your dreams, you don't just lose potential. You lose connection, because passion is contagious. It makes people want to be near you, trust you, follow you, love you. But apathy, it repels. That's why your relationships feel flat. Why people don't listen to you the way they used to. You're no longer projecting life. You're projecting survival. And people can feel it. Passionate people magnetize energy. They ignite attraction, emotional, romantic, professional. Dead energy pushes it away. The scariest part, you start confusing loneliness for independence. You tell yourself, I'm just focusing on myself. No, you're just disconnected from the version of you that made life magnetic. Ted, you don't need motivation. You need rebellion. You keep waiting to feel inspired. You won't. You don't light a fire by waiting for heat. You strike the match. Reviving your passion isn't about positive thinking. It's about rebellion. It's about rejecting the version of yourself that accepted mediocrity as destiny. You think you need hope. You need anger. Anger at how much of your life you've already wasted playing safe. Let that anger become your fuel. Because once you get mad enough to move, you'll remember how unstoppable you can be. A simple but brutal exercise. Right now, grab a piece of paper and write down everything in your life that feels fine. Your job, your relationship, your body, your habits. Now, next to each one. Write this sentence. Fine is the enemy of great. Because it is. Fine is where passion goes to die. And until you start rejecting fine, you'll never reach alive. You don't need to burn everything down. You just need to start choosing things that make you feel something. That's how resurrection starts, with honesty, with courage, with one decision that says, I'm done sleepwalking through my life. Closing truth. You're not too late. You're not broken. You're not done. You're just buried under years of pretending. So here's your wake-up call. The dream didn't die. You just stopped feeding it. And now, you have two choices. Keep living like a ghost, or start fighting like someone who remembers what fire feels like. The world won't wait, neither should you. The war inside your mind. Let's be honest, the battle isn't out there. It's in your head. You think the problem is your circumstances, your job, your schedule, your lack of support. But those are symptoms, not causes. The real problem is the voice that whispers, what's the point every time you get close to doing something that matters? That voice is a liar, and it's been running your life. Then the enemy isn't fear, it's comfort. Fear doesn't kill dreams. Comfort does. Fear wakes you up. Comfort lulls you to sleep. When you feel fear, it means you're stepping into the unknown, into growth. But when you feel comfortable, it means your brain has locked you in the same loop, the same predictable rhythm of mediocrity. And here's the terrifying truth. You've mistaken peace for numbness. You say you just want calm, balance, rest. But what you really want is to stop feeling like you've abandoned yourself. Because deep down, you know you were never built for easy. The human soul doesn't thrive on safety. It thrives on expansion. And when you stop expanding, your spirit rebels. That rebellion shows up as anxiety, boredom, restlessness, self-sabotage, your subconscious screaming, we're dying here. You've been gaslighting yourself. You've become an expert at pretending you're happy, pretending you don't care, pretending that it's fine that your goals are collecting dust in some forgotten corner of your mind. You post quotes about gratitude, but deep down, You feel resentment. You say you're just being realistic. But the truth is, you're scared. Scared that if you try again, you'll fail again. Scared that if you want more, people will call you ungrateful. Scared that if you actually succeed, you'll have to leave behind the people who never did. So you lie. You downplay your hunger. You mute your ambition. You pretend you're content because it's easier to disappoint yourself quietly than risk disappointing the world loudly. But every lie you tell yourself widens the gap between who you are and who you could be. And eventually, that gap becomes unbearable. The psychology of self-sabotage. Let's get scientific for a minute. Your brain's number one job isn't to make you happy, it's to keep you alive. And to your brain, alive means predictable. That's why change feels terrifying, not because it's bad, but because it's unknown. When you start doing something new, applying for that job, starting that project, opening your heart again, your brain sends a wave of resistance. It's not because you're lazy or weak, it's because your subconscious reads uncertainty as danger. So it does everything it can to pull you back into the familiar, the same patterns, the same habits, the same excuses. That's why you lose motivation after a week. Why you start strong, then fade. It's not lack of willpower. It's neurological conditioning. You're fighting millions of years of evolution that taught your ancestors stay safe, stay small, stay the same. But you're not a caveman anymore. You don't need to fight for physical survival. You need to fight for psychological freedom. And that means overriding your brain's fear of growth. The 3 hidden addictions keeping you stuck. You think you're stuck because you don't have enough time or money, but those aren't the real addictions. Let's expose the ones that truly enslave you. The addiction to certainty. You'd rather live a guaranteed okay life than risk chasing an extraordinary one. You don't want to be surprised even by success because surprise means lack of control. 2. The addiction to validation. You measure your worth by how others respond. You post, you share, you wait for likes and call it connection. But the validation you crave is really the permission you never gave yourself. 3. The addiction to avoidance. You're not tired, you're avoiding. You fill every quiet moment with noise so you never have to face the truth you're not living up to your own potential. If that stings, good. It's supposed to. You can't heal what you won't admit. Why you don't trust yourself anymore. Here's the most painful part. You've broken your own trust. You've made promises you didn't keep. You've set goals you abandoned. You've whispered, "This time will be different." Too many times to believe it anymore. And now, even when you want to start, your brain doesn't take you seriously. That's why it's so hard to begin again. You don't need motivation. You need credibility with yourself. You rebuild it the same way you build trust in any relationship. Small, consistent actions. Keep one promise to yourself every day, even a tiny one. Wake up when you said you would. Speak the truth when it's uncomfortable. Do the thing you said you'd do, especially when no one's watching, because every small act of integrity sends a signal I can count on me again. That's how momentum starts, not with fireworks, but with self-respect. But your emotions aren't the problem. They're the map. You've been taught to suppress emotion. Be positive, stay calm, don't overreact. But your emotions aren't enemies. They're signals. Anxiety means you're living dishonestly. Boredom means your soul is starving. Anger means you've tolerated too much for too long. Stop numbing those feelings. Start decoding them. Because every emotion is pointing to the same truth: you're not where you're supposed to be yet. And here's the twist: the moment you stop running from your feelings, they lose control over you. What you resist controls you. What you face transforms you. Duck the attraction dynamic of aliveness. Let's talk about something few people ever admit. When you lose passion, you become emotionally unattractive, not just romantically, energetically. People are drawn to aliveness. They feel your energy before they hear your words. You can say all the right things, dress the part, fake the smile, but if you've lost your spark, people sense it instantly. That's why your relationships feel flat. Why people stop chasing your attention. Why your conversations feel empty. Attraction in love, friendship. Business is an emotional currency. And when you go numb, you stop circulating it. Want to reignite your charisma? Don't fake confidence. Revive curiosity. Get excited about something again. Start learning, building, exploring. Because passion is magnetic. It announces itself without effort. And when you come alive, people can't help but notice. That's rewiring the system. The good news, the same brain that's been sabotaging you can become your greatest ally. Neuroplasticity. Your brain's ability to rewire means you can literally train yourself to crave growth again. Here's how. 1. Micro discomforts. Do one small thing every day that scares you. Make the call. Speak the truth. Try the thing. Each time you survive discomfort, your brain learns fear doesn't equal death. 2. Emotional honesty. Stop pretending. Tell one truth a day, even if it's ugly. That's how authenticity rebuilds your inner fire. 3. Self-witnessing. Notice your patterns without judging them. The moment you become aware of an old habit, it loses 50% of its power. Awareness is the first act of rebellion. This isn't spiritual fluff. It's psychology. Your neural pathways adapt to repetition. Repeat fear and you build paralysis. Repeat courage and you build freedom. 30 the shift. You keep thinking the answer is in motivation videos, books, or strategies. It's not. It's in your daily rebellion against the smallness that's become comfortable. You don't need to change your life overnight. You just need to prove to yourself today that you're not afraid to feel alive again. That's the real resurrection. Closing truth. Here's the final slap of honesty for this section. You're not fighting laziness, you're fighting amnesia. You forgot who you are. You forgot what power feels like. You forgot that your mind doesn't own you, you own it. So stop negotiating with your limitations. Your dreams aren't waiting for the perfect version of you. They're waiting for the honest one. Because the second you stop lying to yourself, you'll start remembering what it feels like to want again. And that's the first sign of life. The resurrection of fire. Let's get one thing clear, your dreams aren't gone. They're waiting. Quietly, patiently. Beneath the rubble of your routines, your fears, your practical excuses. You didn't lose them. You buried them alive. And every time you feel that strange ache, that dull, nameless sadness that comes out of nowhere, that's them. That's the ghost of your own potential whispering, I'm still here. So let's dig. The moment everything can change. Most people think change happens slowly. It doesn't. Change happens in a single decision. One violent, emotional moment of truth where you finally say, enough. Enough pretending. Enough waiting. Enough betraying yourself. That's how real transformation begins, not in planning, not in visualizing, but in deciding that the pain of staying the same has finally outweighed the fear of change. You won't always have clarity before that moment. You won't have a plan, but you will have one thing, a choice. And that choice will feel terrifying because it's supposed to. It's you stepping back into your own power after years of abandoning it. You don't need a plan. You need a pulse. You've been conditioned to believe that logic is king, that you can think your way out of emptiness, but you can't. The mind that built your cage can't be the one that breaks it. You don't need another spreadsheet of goals. You need a pulse. You need to feel alive again. You've spent years deadening your emotions so you could function in a world that rewards numbness. But numbness isn't peace. It's emotional anesthesia. And here's the thing about anesthesia, it keeps you alive while you're being operated on. But stay under too long and you never wake up. So here's your first rule of resurrection. Stop chasing balance. Start chasing aliveness. You don't need everything to make sense. You just need something that makes you feel. The power of emotional risk. You can't feel passion without risk. Every deep emotion, love, joy, purpose requires the willingness to lose something. That's why you've gone numb. You've spent years trying to protect yourself from pain, heartbreak, disappointment. But here's the brutal truth. If you numb the pain, you numb the joy too. You can't selectively deaden emotions. You can't block heartbreak without blocking passion. So yes, if you start living again, you'll get hurt again. You'll fail again. You'll be misunderstood again. But you'll also feel alive again. That's the trade. That's the cost of resurrection, and it's worth every scar. Stop waiting for permission. Let's talk about the invisible leash around your neck. You think you need approval from your parents, your partner, your boss, society. You don't. You're waiting for permission that's never coming because the people you want validation from are too busy managing their own fears. Here's the secret no one tells you. No one actually knows what they're doing. Everyone's improvising. Everyone's scared. The only difference between people who change their lives and people who stay stuck, the ones who change act before they feel ready. They don't wait for permission, they self-authorize. And the moment you start doing the same, the moment you stop asking, "Is this okay?" and start saying, "This is mine," everything shifts. That's when the world starts responding differently to you. Because confidence isn't a feeling, it's a decision repeated until it becomes truth. The psychology of rebirth. There's something called emotional reconditioning. It's how you teach your nervous system to stop associating fear with failure and start associating it with growth. Here's how it works. When you take a risk, even a small one, and survive, your brain updates its data. It learns that uncertainty doesn't equal death. Do that enough times, and your default emotional response to fear changes from freeze to curiosity. That's what passion really is. Not motivation, but a neurological hunger for challenge. You can rebuild that hunger, slowly, intentionally. Start with micro risks. Speak when you'd normally stay silent. Try something new every week. Say yes before you overthink it. Every time you do, your brain rewires a little more toward aliveness. You stop chasing dopamine hits from distractions and start earning dopamine from creation. That's when life starts to taste different. Cover the emotional weight you need to drop. You can't run toward your future while dragging corpses from your past. So let's talk about forgiveness, not the fluffy kind, the psychological kind. Forgiveness isn't saying it's okay. It's saying, "I'm done carrying this." You're still punishing yourself for who you were when you didn't know better. Still blaming yourself for mistakes that built the very wisdom you're using to hate yourself. You've confused guilt with loyalty as if holding onto pain proves you care. It doesn't. It just keeps you stuck. The second you release that self-punishment, you reclaim energy you didn't even know was missing. Energy that could have been fueling your next chapter. And when you stop defining yourself by your past, your future finally has space to enter. Heart the physics of passion. Let's talk attraction, not romantic, but energetic. Passion operates on the same law as magnetism. Movement creates charge. When you move emotionally, physically, creatively, you generate energy. When you stagnate, you lose it. That's why tiredness follows inactivity. It's not that you're exhausted, you're understimulated. You've mistaken fatigue for boredom and boredom for failure. But your body isn't tired, it's begging for motion. So move. Take a walk without your phone. Write something. Build something. Do anything that proves you're still capable of momentum. Because action is what pulls you out of despair. Not thinking, not planning, movement. And when you start moving again, even in small ways, you'll notice something profound. The world begins to move with you. Opportunities appear. People appear. Not by magic, but because energy attracts energy. The moment you choose fire. Every person who ever changed their life did it from one burning realization. No one is coming. No rescue. No sign. No miracle. Just them, their pain, and a choice. And here's what's wild. Once you truly accept that, you become unstoppable. Because you stop waiting, you stop blaming, you stop negotiating with fear. You become the cause of your life, not the effect. That's where passion is reborn, not in some burst of inspiration, but in ownership. You start showing up differently. You speak with weight. You walk with certainty. You radiate conviction. People won't even know what changed, but they'll feel it. Because the most magnetic person in any room is the one who's fully alive. The new law of desire. Here's your new rule. Don't chase comfort. Chase vitality. Comfort fades. Vitality compounds. Every time you choose growth over safety, you build momentum. Every time you choose honesty over approval, you build identity. Every time you choose discomfort over numbness, you build strength. That's how you rebuild passion, not by finding it, but by becoming the kind of person who can't live without it. And when that shift happens, you stop needing external motivation. You become your own fuel. The final challenge. This is where you either stop listening or start living. You've heard enough truth to change your entire life. But truth without action is just entertainment. So here's the challenge. One simple, uncomfortable act that could change everything tonight. Before bed, write down one dream you've been avoiding. Not a goal, a dream. Something that scares you because it still matters. Then write one sentence under it. I will not die with this still inside me. That's your contract. No motivation, no deadline. Just a promise to your future self that you won't leave them starving. You don't have to do everything. You just have to do something. Because once you move, the energy returns, the vision sharpens, the pulse comes back. And when that happens, when you finally feel the fire again, you'll realize it was never gone. It was just waiting for you to remember who the hell you are. Closing truth. Here's your final slap of honesty. Your dreams didn't abandon you. You abandoned them, but they never stopped waiting. So stop mourning your potential. Start honoring it. You don't need a miracle. You just need to stop choosing death by comfort and start choosing life by courage. Because revival isn't some grand event, it's a decision. And the second you make it, the second you act on it, you'll realize resurrection was never about finding passion, it was about finally becoming it.